Dad told me I had to let my stepbrother live in my house if I wanted to get my inheritance. On the second day, my stepbrother told me he had spent all his money on fancy things, so I told him he had to leave. I am 30 years old and had never met my stepbrother until last week. My parents divorced when I was really young, and I barely knew my dad. He sent alimony, and that was about it. I did have some interactions with him and a few good memories of trips, but he wasn't really a priority for him. He got remarried when I was 10, and my stepbrother was born shortly after that. After my dad's wedding, he moved to the UK to live with his new wife, which made our relationship even more distant. I didn't want to keep trying to get his attention, even when I was young, and he slowly stopped being an important part of my life. My mom, on the other hand, did everything for me and taught me how to be kind and loving. She always tried to help me understand my dad's perspective and kept me from cutting off contact with him completely. Sadly, she passed away from cancer when I was 20. Her loss still affects me deeply, and without her, I felt lost without the one person who loved me unconditionally. Without my mom, I felt like I would lose all contact with my dad too. But to my surprise, he not only came to Mom's funeral but stayed at my place for a few weeks to help me grieve. He shared stories about what Mom was like in college, the things she did, and her quirky habits that he still remembered. Those few weeks were the closest I had ever felt to him emotionally. It made me realize that I still had a parental figure in my life. When he went back to the UK, we kept in touch. Sometimes we had video calls, and I briefly spoke with his wife or my stepbrother, Justin. Our interactions were polite but not very close. I understood that they were part of a different chapter in my dad's life, and neither I nor his family were really interested in blending our lives together. Besides, it's hard to form a strong bond when you live so far apart. My dad often came to the US for work, and I used those times to catch up with him. One day, during one of our meetups, we had a really emotional moment where he apologized for not being there for me during my childhood. He also told me that he had left me a significant amount of money in his will. He said, "I know this can't make up for anything in the past, son. I just hope it'll keep your future steady." That heart-to-heart stuck with me, and I decided to forgive him for his poor parenting, not completely, but enough to remove the barriers to building a better relationship. Things changed after that. It felt like I had a family again. My dad and his family, except Justin because he was busy with his exams, came to my wedding to Clara when I was 28. I also visited the UK as part of my honeymoon. My dad's wife was lovely, though a bit disconnected from everyday money matters. Dad is wealthy, and she comes from a family so posh they could be straight out of Downton Abbey. We got along, but there was definitely a cultural gap. Still, I felt less isolated than I had before. Things seemed to be looking up because Dad planned to settle in the US after retiring, which was just a few years away. He also wanted Justin to attend his alma mater, so I thought there was a chance I might finally get to know my stepbrother. I had settled quite close to Dad's college, and since I had gone there myself, I thought it would be a good idea to invite Justin to live with me and Clara to help him adjust to American life. Dad was thrilled with the idea, and within a few weeks, Justin was at my doorstep. From the moment we met, there was tension. Justin had grown up with wealthy parents, while I had only one. He was spoiled, and his lifestyle was completely different from mine. In just one day, he wasted food at a restaurant, mocked a waitress for wanting a tip, and spent thousands of dollars at the airport mall. I'm serious, thousands. He complained that our house didn't have an outdoor pool and insulted me and Clara for the way we lived. I kept my cool in front of him, but I was fuming inside. When I finally got the chance, I called my dad and told him this wasn't going to work out. To my surprise, he didn't want to hear it at all. I didn't understand where he was coming from, but my dad seemed resentful that I wasn't giving Justin a chance. He said, "Come on, you've known him for just one day. He's a good kid, I swear. Please, just give him a chance." I got his point, but you can often tell when someone is going to be a bit of a jerk right from the start. I was more diplomatic in explaining why I didn't want Justin around, but it didn't work. The conversation got heated, and my dad said, "If you two can't be brothers, I'll have to leave my wealth to the person I've been able to raise. You get that, right? You need to get along because I want a family with no fights. Otherwise, we can just go back to how things were before. You need to commit not just to me but to my wife and kid too." That felt like a low blow, but I decided maybe I should try to keep Justin around for a few more weeks. After that, Dad would be in the US, and my stepbrother would be off my hands. Simple enough, right? Wrong. The next day, while Clara and I were at work, Justin was still asleep in the guest bedroom. I asked him what his plans were and if he needed help with his admission process, but he just said he had jet lag and would just relax all day. When I got home in the evening, the house was a mess. Apparently, Justin had gone out in the afternoon, made friends with some girls, and tried to impress them by spending a fortune. He bought them loads of expensive stuff and then let them and all their friends have a party at my house. As I was kicking everyone out, Clara came out, clearly upset, and told me that some drunk guy had hit on her. Not only was my house trashed, but my wife also felt unsafe in her own home because of Justin's recklessness. I was furious and told him he was never allowed back in my house. When he asked, "Come on, where am I supposed to go?" I told him he'd better book a hotel room. That's when I found out he had spent all the money Dad had given him to get settled in the US. It was all gone in just a few days. I didn't care and told him to figure it out. The next morning, my dad called and said he was really disappointed that I let a kid struggle like that. Apparently, Justin had called his dad and spent the night at a gas station. I know he was super entitled, and I'm definitely not going to apologize for kicking him out. But was I the jerk for making him figure it out in a country he wasn't familiar with? Update 1. Dad arrived in the US and booked an early flight, sending Justin more money so he could check into a hotel. I wasn't going to let my stepbrother back into my home, but I did invite my dad over to talk things through. If he was going to keep insisting on forcing a bond with Justin, I was ready to tell him I didn't care about the inheritance. We'll see how things play out. Update 2. Talking to Dad was quite a roller coaster. It wasn't just him who came, his wife was there too, and to my dismay, so was Justin. We all sat awkwardly in the living room. Then, to my surprise, Justin stood up and awkwardly apologized for his behavior. It sounded rehearsed, like a snotty toddler being forced to say sorry, which isn't far from the truth. Dad then admitted he didn't fully understand Justin's behavior. After seeing how Justin had drained all his savings, Dad had a serious talk with him. I wasn't shocked to hear that Justin had spun a different story, claiming he lost his money to a scam and insisting I wasn't willing to hear him out. I scoffed and said, "Dad, I appreciate you making your kid apologize, but it doesn't change how I feel about him. I won't let him stay with me, nor would I consider him family unless he shows he is genuinely sorry. I respect you and your wife, but I need time before I can even think about calling Justin my brother." That made the mood go from apologetic to cold, and they left without promising to meet up or fix things. The inheritance wasn't mentioned again, so I guess Dad still stands by what he said. Clara thinks it would be better for me to pretend to mend bridges with my stepbrother so my dad feels more secure about his family and I don't risk losing the relationship I've built with him over the years, but I just can't bring myself to do that. Update 3. It's been a month since Dad moved to the US. We haven't really spoken much, and I think Justin has finally moved into a dorm. However, I was surprised to get a call from Dad's wife. She had a heart-to-heart with me and admitted that Justin was spoiled because of her. Dad just wanted me to build a relationship with my stepbrother because he was worried about merging the two parts of his life. He thought it was necessary for me and Justin to respect each other to prevent his family from feeling fragmented. He had confided in her about these feelings but felt too ashamed to reach out to me. I thanked her for sharing that with me and told her I'd reach out to Dad when I felt ready. I spoke to Dad on the phone, and it was clear we both missed each other. He fully admitted to being an asshole and ignoring Justin's behavior while forcing me to accept it. He apologized for threatening me with the inheritance and said I would get what I deserve regardless. I thanked him and reassured him about our relationship, making it clear that it wasn't necessary for me to get along with Justin to respect his new family. Things seem much better between us now. Story 2. My wife stole our daughter's college money to fund her shopping addiction and wants me to take the blame. I've been with my wife, Andrea, 48, and my stepdaughter, Cassie, 17, for 8 years now. I love them both dearly, but Cassie is an incredibly smart young woman. Recognizing her potential, Andrea and I decided to save up for Cassie's college so she wouldn't have to deal with debt. Over the years, we saved over $200,000. Cassie knows about this and is counting on it because she wants to get into an Ivy League school. To cut a long story short, last week, I discovered that nearly $170,000 was missing from the account. I was shocked and asked Andrea if she knew anything about it. She cried and confessed that she had been spending the money over the years to support her shopping addiction. Update 1. I was furious, but I also had a moment of clarity. I've read enough in these forums to know that an affair was a possibility, so I asked Andrea if she was having one. She denied it strongly and offered any proof I needed: social media accounts, emails, her work phone, everything. She even offered to show me receipts. Nothing seemed suspicious, and the receipts all checked out, so I decided to let it go. However, we still had the major issue of the missing money. Andrea admitted to being a shopping addict, and the money from Cassie's account was just too tempting for her not to use. She didn't make excuses, but she also didn't offer any solutions. As I mentioned before, I was beyond furious. She had ruined Cassie's chances of going to college debt-free and changed the course of her life. I asked Andrea to stay with her sister while I figured things out. Cassie was worried about why she was leaving, so we just told her we needed some space. I asked Andrea to come back home yesterday and we had a very long talk about how to handle this situation. She interrupted me and asked a favor. She wanted me to take the fall for her. To give some background, Andrea and Cassie don't get along for various reasons. Cassie is very independent and will probably move out right after college, if not sooner. Cassie and I have a good relationship, and she often comes to me with her problems. Andrea fears this could permanently drive Cassie away and she doesn't want to lose her. I told her that before we discussed that, she needed to admit her mistake and take responsibility. She needed to go to individual therapy, we needed couples counseling, she needed to join a shopaholic support group, and I would take control of the finances from now on. She said those terms were steep but fair. I told her she needed to tell Cassie what she did, apologize, and hope for the best. She refused, saying she could never lose Cassie. She argued that I could survive the mistake, but she couldn't. I told her that to even consider taking the fall for her, she needed to agree to my terms. I'm really confused about what to do. I don't want to lie to Cassie, but I also don't want Andrea and Cassie to break up forever. The worst part is that Cassie's future is already messed up, and I don't know how to get the money back, except maybe by borrowing from my 401k. Reddit, do you have any ideas? Divorce is an option, but I still love Andrea, and dating at 52 seems nearly impossible. Edit. After reading everyone's comments, I realized I can't lie to Cassie. I love her too much, and she deserves the truth, no matter how hard it is. I'm going to talk to Andrea and tell her that we need to tell Cassie the truth together if we want to stay together. If not, I'll start divorce proceedings and tell Cassie myself. Also, as someone suggested, I'll record our future talks to prevent her from trying to twist things around. Thanks for the advice. Edit 2. I want to thank everyone for really helping me see things clearly yesterday. You're all right. I need to put Cassie first. As I said, I will tell her the absolute truth. Even if she gets mad at me and decides to cut ties, at least I'll know I did the right thing. I'm also going to pay for her college myself. I can take money from my retirement and inheritance, so it will be okay. If I need to live more frugally during retirement and work a few extra years, so be it. Cassie is worth it. I doubt her mother will sell her stuff, so that's why I'm taking this approach. Regarding Andrea, I've been criticized for wanting to let her off the hook, but it's easy to say that when you're not emotionally involved. That being said, I don't think I can stay with her. What she did is awful, and she ruined our daughter's future for her addiction. We had a long talk late last night, and I threatened to divorce her unless she told Cassie the truth. She begged me not to, but I stood my ground. Eventually she agreed, but only if I promised not to divorce her and help repair their relationship. I likely won't be doing either. She made her choice, so she can deal with the consequences. Update 2. I want to start by thanking everyone who replied to my original post. You all showed me some tough love, and I really appreciate it. Even those who called me a doormat. Like I mentioned before, it woke me up. I won't be staying with Andrea. She has lied and manipulated both me and Cassie for too long. The fact that she stole from me, Cassie, and Cassie's grandparents makes this as close to unforgivable as it gets. Cassie is the one who has been wronged the most. She has an amazing future ahead of her, and I refuse to let it go to waste because of my wife's selfish choices. Answering common questions. Over half the money in the account came from Cassie's grandparents, Andrea's parents, Cassie's biological dad's parents, and my parents, who Cassie also calls grandparents. This money was given early on, which is why I knew how much was supposed to be in there. I never handled the account. Although I consider Cassie my daughter, she is only my stepdaughter legally. As such, her mother, Andrea, managed all financial matters related to her. I simply gave her money to deposit into the account, and she showed me what were probably doctored statements. I believe she pocketed the cash whenever I gave her money. I did notice the things she was buying. She said they were either on sale or because she got a work bonus. She has a very good job, and I thought she was responsible with money, so I didn't question it. I did ask her why she needed so many Christian Louboutin shoes, and she just shrugged it off. And while it might be hard for people to understand, it's very easy to spend $170,000. A large portion of the money went towards buying a Mercedes, which I thought was a lease. She had a 7-year-old Lexus that, according to her friends were laughing at. Keeping up appearances for her wealthy friends is very important to her. Cassie and Andrea don't get along for various reasons. Allegedly, Cassie takes after her deceased father, and Andrea can't relate to her at all, or maybe she doesn't try hard enough. Cassie much prefers to talk to me. We have parent/child boundaries, but Cassie considers me one of her best friends, her words, not mine. I realized that taking the fall for Andrea was just her way of manipulating me, plus it would have opened me up to a lot of consequences that I don't need to deal with. Honesty is always the best policy. I wasn't thinking clearly in my last post and was afraid of being alone and single. I think I have some issues with being alone that I need to work on. I really do love Andrea. We have a deep connection, but I'm still going to divorce her. Interestingly, a comment about senior homes having chlamydia outbreaks made me laugh and helped me realize that I could date again at this age. Plus, you guys gave me some really nice compliments, so thank you for that. After my last update, I talked to Andrea deep into the night. She kept changing her mind about admitting to Cassie what she did. She suggested that she or we could get loans to repay the money. I told her she had a problem and needed to make amends, which was a point raised here. When I threatened divorce, she agreed to tell Cassie as long as I didn't divorce her. I guess she's scared of losing everything. That afternoon, we sat Cassie down and told her the truth. At first, she thought we were joking, but when she realized we weren't, she got extremely upset. I'll spare you the details, but Andrea and Cassie had an extremely loud and vicious argument. Cassie called her some really awful names, and while Andrea didn't curse back, she tried to defend herself and got angry at the insults. The shouting was so loud that the neighbors called the police. I had to awkwardly explain the situation to them, hoping they didn't think I was abusive. Cassie told Andrea that she never wanted to speak to her again, and that she didn't want any of her money, and then she stormed off. I asked Andrea to stay with her sister for now while Cassie and I get some space. She didn't want to go and fought to stay, but I told her Cassie and I needed time apart from her, so she packed her things and went to her sister's house. As for Cassie, she went to her room and locked the door. She let me in after I told her that her mother had left. She cried in my arms and said her future was now ruined. I reassured her that it wasn't, and I would cover her college expenses from my retirement, and that I would make it right. She doesn't really know what a 401k is yet, but she told me she didn't want me to work until I'm 90 like the people at Walmart just because of her. I told her she was worth it, and that you do foolish things for the people you love. She said she'd start looking for scholarships and maybe other schools where she could get a full ride, since she has excellent grades and extracurriculars. I then told her that Andrea wanted me to take the fall for her, and that I had considered it but came to my senses. She got upset with me and said that would have been the stupidest thing I could have done. She said she wouldn't have believed I did it anyway, and it would have made her more upset at her mother. She told me she doesn't blame me and that she's not mad at me for the money being gone, but she is mad that I would want to cover for her mother. I apologized for that. We talked and cuddled for a while longer before calling it a night. The next morning, Andrea's parents called to ask if the story was true. Cassie had told them, and they wanted to confirm. I had the voice recordings and bank statements to prove it. They were furious but begged me not to leave Andrea over this and to try and help her with her addiction. I told them I wasn't sure about that yet and ended the call. Later, my parents called and asked about it. I confirmed everything, and they were probably even more angry than Cassie was. They're threatening to press charges. I told them to calm down and that I would handle it. Cassie is doing okay. She's still a bit shaken, but she seems to be coping as well as could be expected. I made her pancakes this morning, and it seemed to cheer her up a bit. I asked if she wants to do therapy, and she said she'll think about it. I will be starting therapy for myself. Andrea has been calling and leaving voicemails, offering anything to make it right. Money, sex, favors, you name it, but it won't work. I feel terrible for Cassie, especially with Christmas coming up. I'm thinking of getting her Billie Eilish tickets since she's a big fan. It won't fix things, but it might help her feel a bit better. That's it for now. I'll update if anything changes, but I think this is pretty much it. Thanks everyone. You've been a huge help. Edit. I forgot to mention that I've been monitoring my credit closely, so there was nothing suspicious there, but I'm locking it down now. I'll be going to my accountant next week to remove Andrea from all important accounts, life insurance, will, bank accounts, etc., and adding Cassie. I've started changing passwords so Andrea doesn't have access. I'm stringing Andrea along with the promise of no divorce until my accounts are secure. Also, from what I can tell, Cassie's credit is fine, but I'll be doing a thorough check and locking it as well. Edit 2. I fixed a line where I mixed up the names. Edit 3. I can't believe I have to say this, but some people are saying it's creepy that I'm cuddling with my daughter. If sitting with her while she cried on my shoulder and us talking is considered creepy, then sure, I'm creepy. Leave it to the internet to make things weird, I guess. And no, I don't think I'm some hero. I'm just trying to do the right thing.